is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Blowing out of the backfield, exploding down the sideline.
This is Hangin' with the Boys, presented by Wingstop, where flavor gets its wings.
Now, your hosts, Nate Newton, Kurt Daniels, Jesse Holley, and Shannon Gross.
I don't even know why they said those other three names, because Nate, go on, host it.
No, I can't host it, but we were trying to start the show so I can ride you, dog. And Kurt and Kyle would not go behind your back. Got two loyal dudes.
Did this man a favor because he threw a fit because he didn't have any water before the show started. So I went to go get drinks, and I come back in the hall, and I hear him go, "Let's start the show! Start the show!"
I was trying my best to stab him in his back. Kurt and Kyle would not go along with it, man.
A lot of conflict.
How you fellas doing?
Doing all right.
You good? You good?
You know what you got on them two guys, man? What you got on Kurt? Because Jesse was rolling with his boy. Jesse was rolling with his boy.
Yeah, not trying to discuss.
sorry.
No, don't do that. You about to ride on this boat by yourself. Nate was the one that complained about the water not being here, and he's the one person who never drinks his water.
Right.
Because I like to take it home and say, man, Shannon got this for me. Wow.
It's okay. We're good.
We're here.
But we're here, and we are also here with longtime special guest. First time this season?
First time this season, yes.
Yeah. Chris Hall, welcome to the show, Chris.
Yeah, it was in the summertime.
Oh, it's summertime. Okay, cool. Football season started.
Hey, Kyle, we need some applause for Chris. Welcome to the show, Chris. There we go.
Hey, there we go. Okay.
up,
Now we're on.
You know who running the show, don't we?
Okay.
What's up, man? How you been?
Good, man. Just grinding away,
Yeah.
trying to find football players for next year's draft.
So tell us what you are working on right at this moment.
Right at this moment, we just had kind of a midseason checkup report with all of our scouting staff, our college guys. We brought everybody in town for 3 or 4 days and kind of went over with each individual guy in their area, just kind of went through their areas and did a little midseason checkup to see where the players are, where they think they're going to be, making sure that we're not having just a guy out there that only one person has seen. So we kind of get a little checkup there to see if we need to readjust some schedules and get in and see a guy practice here end of October, beginning of November, before some of these smaller schools close their shop down. So try and get at least 2, if not 3 sets of eyes on everybody that we think will make the draft board during the fall, and then we let the process roll out in the spring from the All-Star games and the Combine and the Pro Days.
All right, can you break it down for the fans? Because when you talk about scouting, there's 2 sets of scoutings, right? You have your college scouts, and then you have your pro scouts.
Guys. Exactly.
So break it down to the fans on, one, what areas or regions are guys going out for the college scouts,
sure.
and then how is it broken down for those pro scouts and evaluating talent and trying to bring talent in during the season with the trade deadline a week away?
So our college group, there's basically 11 or 12 of us that are out on the road all during the fall. Mm-hmm. Once we get out of training camp, we're out hunting guys until November on the road, visiting college campuses. We break the country up into 6 areas, and each guy, we call him the general manager of their area. And it's up to them to handle that area and know what's there and know where the players are. And then there's 3 or 4 of us I cover all of Texas, and then there's 3 other guys that'll cover the whole country and just try and get second and third looks at the top players. So we like to get as many eyes and talk to as many people on campuses as we can. Look, anybody can put the tape on and give you an opinion about a player, but the real scouting and the information is when you're on campus talking to the different people that you're allowed to visit with to find out about the person. We can look at the tape and tell you what kind of player we think he is, but the other part of the equation is figuring out who the guy is, and is he the kind of guy that we want to bring onto the Cowboys roster and let him compete for a spot here. So that's the college end of it. Then the pro end of it, we've got 4 guys and a couple other helpers in the office that work the pro rosters every day, every week during the season. A couple of the guys work on advanced scouting for the opponents that we're going to play in future weeks. And then we're always looking at the guys that are on practice squads, going back to the preseason tape, looking at them. We've got a lot of reports on those guys already, but the ones we don't, we go back and look at that. trying to cover every aspect of when you have an injury. That's the first guys you tend to look at is the guys that are on somebody else's practice squad, and then there's the guys that are out on the street. So the pro scouts are looking at practice squads. They're keeping up on who's on the street, whose names show up on the waiver wire, who's getting workouts at other places. And a lot of it's just based on positions of need, too, and where you're trying to improve your depth or you run into an injury and all of a sudden Ty Crawford goes out for the year and you got to find a body to replace him. Mm-hmm. And it might come from a practice squad. It might come from a guy on the street. It could come from a trade. You have to be prepared for all those different scenarios.
Now, we have Chris Hall here, and tell us your position again, Coach.
I'm the college scouting coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys.
And this is an open week, so Shannon thought it would be a great idea to bring Coach in and see where we at in the different things. And this is Chris Hall, great man. You have any questions for him?
Sure. I have a bunch of questions for Chris.
Right. Wait, I got one important one.
Sure.
Had you ever heard, before he made the team, had you ever heard the name Jesse Holley?
Sure, from the show. Obviously, we knew who he was from all that.
All right.
But North Carolina, we knew who Jesse.
Okay, all right.
We knew where.
I was okay. I wasn't the best. I had some ACC honors. I was all right.
Okay, I
wasn't a complete scrub.
Because our fans think you're just a scrub.
I know. I wasn't a complete scrub, man.
Jesse had a college career.
I got
Chapel Hill.
I was okay.
It was better than most.
Oh, you're not on Twitter a lot. You don't see the fire that the fans of this show spit at Jesse.
I'm a total scrub to the fans on Twitter.
I didn't know that, Coach.
So I just wanted our listeners to know Jesse had some football cred coming out of college.
Yeah.
Okay. So
You're just always behind Calvin Johnson. That's the hard part. When you're trying to be a receiver in the ACC, it was like Calvin Johnson, then everybody else. Calvin Johnson, Chauncey Stuckey. Who else was at that time? I was at that mix, but I used to go back and watch film like, all right, how can I get these Calvin Johnson numbers? I literally sat down one week and I watched a bunch of Calvin. I'm trying to figure out how is this guy doing it every week?
While you were in college and he was in college?
Yeah, because I'm like, well, if I'm the one here and he's the one there, I want numbers comparable to what the one over there is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And I'm like, all right, cool. He was averaging at the time like 85 yards a game. Now think about this. This is
Georgia Tech.
This is Georgia Tech. This is 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
Team.
Right? This is before the whole pass happy league thing. Everybody's in shotgun stuff. This was, tight ends and fullbacks and all that kind of. I'm like, this dude is averaging like 85 yards a game.
Yeah, and the thing with Calvin was in coming out of that offense that they were running there, he didn't get that many balls.
Like
his
4 or
way,
5,
but when he did, he was making huge plays on him. And the routes you get to run in that offense as a receiver, usually vertical and asking for big plays to happen.
And that's how he got. Like they would throw maybe 3 or 4 just 50-50 balls, and you think about it, all he got to do is catch one. That's 50.
Right.
And then everything else
usually catch 2 or 3.
And he'll catch 2 or 3. I'm just by average, if he catches one, that's 50, and then little 10 yards here, 5 yards there. At the end of the game, 125 yards. 89 yards, 105 yards.
5 catches.
And Jesse's going back going, hey, just throw it up 3 times.
So
I'm going to get
literally,
one.
I'm like, hey, listen, I know I'm 6'3", I'm not 6'5", but let's just take me a couple shots down here. I'm like, give me a chance. And no.
Now, Kurt,
That's funny.
I hate that, man.
I cut him off. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah.
He tried to get involved and we shut him down.
So may I ask you to ask a question now
of course.
Of Chris Hall.
So obviously you guys have worked with Jason Garrett and his staff over the years.
Obviously,
you kind of know what.
That's a camera
Why are you trying to go at Kurt? Kurt, Kurt, you got to get him today because he's trying to come at you today, Kurt.
Yeah.
Is there a mute button in there?
Yeah, exactly. But he's obviously he doesn't have a contract. So does that make anything change for you? Is it tougher because you don't know what you maybe have a new staff next year that want entirely different new players or something like that? Does that change anything or affect you guys at all?
Not really. I mean, we kind of have some philosophies in place here, and yeah, it certainly can change when you get not just a new head coach, but new position coaches as well. So you always try and go scout good football players, and then if something were to happen down the road, obviously we would adjust to whatever style we change to, but we're still going to scout the guys the same during the fall. And you put a grade on them, and then do they fit what we're doing at the time? And we adjust as we go forward, getting closer to the draft. But it really doesn't change our approach and how we look at guys. We know what we play right now, and we know what type of guys fit what we're doing right now. But if all of a sudden we change to a 3-4 scheme, it's going to open up the door for a whole lot of players that don't fit what we do right now. If all of a sudden we change to a gap scheme running team, it's going to adjust and change what we're looking for as an offensive lineman somewhat.
You were here when Parcells came in,
yes.
So that you kind of experienced that then. Didn't he change the scheme of the defense?
Bill changed a lot of things, as how things were done on the field, off the field. But it was, you do. You change it. We had Coach Zimmer here at the time, and we really made a big adjustment there. Not the first year, but we kind of transitioned into it in the second year. And as the style that we were going to play on the field evolved, so did us as scouts. We had to evolve to what we were looking to fit into each particular piece.
Nice. That's good. How much does, you hear so much talk these days about analytics and new stats. Does that affect what you guys, has that changed how you scout at all?
I don't think it's changed how we've scouted, but it's become a bigger part of the puzzle that we put together each spring. We've got a full analytics staff now that's grown over the last few years. They interpret a whole bunch of different things that they bring to the table, whether it's stats, tendencies, the type of player that fits in different things. There's so many different things to evaluate now, and Tom Robinson and his staff do a great job of bringing another aspect to throw into the puzzle for us to figure out. We don't just go with what analytics say. We don't just go with what scouts say. We don't just go with what coaches say. Will McClay does a phenomenal job of putting that all together and passing on the information to management, and we make a good group decision on what's best for the team.
That's a perfect segue to my next question. You brought his name up, Will McClay. And he is someone who I would say that in the last couple years, you've seen his name become more of a household name.
Definitely.
And a lot of times you don't hear that about the head of scout. The head of scouting department. A lot of those names kind of stay under the radar, but this is a guy who's been talked about, being a GM and what he's meant to this team and how he's built this team through the draft and free agency. What is it like working for Will McClay? Or working under Will McClay?
Yeah, it's I've known Will for a long, long time, back to when he was the coach of the Desperados, and even when he was coaching in the XFL, helping Galen Hall put together the Orlando Rage back in the day. And Will's a grinder. He's a workhorse. He's the most demanding, but it's hard to put it the right way. I've never worked with a guy that works as hard as Will does.
So does that
work
push
ethic,
you and your other staff?
Because when your boss sets the bar up here, you've got to answer that every day. You've got to come to work, and you've got to work like he does, your whole staff does. And he's done nothing but make our entire group better. He watches more tape than any human alive, I promise you that. And he studies it, and he knows it, and he loves it. I mean, it's in his DNA. He loves the game of football. He's been invaluable to our team in helping unify everything that we do between coaching, scouting, and he's a great voice to help management understand the whole process that we go through too. He's been an irreplaceable piece to what we do in building this team.
Philip Bolin on Twitter wanted to know, how do you get into scouting? Because there's a lot of different roads into that scouting, right?
There is. There's guys like me who never played a down of football in his life that have found their way into it by hook or crook. And then you've got ex-players that are involved in it. You've got coaches that get involved in it. You got analytics people that find their way into it. There's a lot of different ways. And I've been doing this now for almost 30 years.
What was your road? How did you get it?
I was really fortunate. So way back in the day, I went to SMU when we didn't have a football team, when we were on the death penalty. I was in school during that time. And a buddy of mine, Brett Daniels, who was a longtime employee out here, he worked in the PR department for 25 years. And he's gone on to help put Super Bowls together in Atlanta and work at Georgia Tech as an athletic administrator. But Brett and I were buddies back in the day, and he had a job out here a year ahead of me. And I was still looking for a job with my big SMU degree after I graduated that May. And I was making $5 an hour slopping the mail around in the athletic department. He called me and said, "Hey, there's a spot in the scouting department. This guy just quit. You interested?" And I'm like, man, I got like $500 left in my bank account. I need a real job. So I was fortunate enough to get an interview out here, and the next week they asked me to come back, and I got the job, and that was September of 1990.
Wow.
And
no experience at all, huh?
Not directly with football, no.
Wow.
So I learned from the literal ground up. I was the intern that put that into the computer, that bought the newspapers in the morning, that managed clips and
there was no iPhones back then, right?
My God,
there was no iPhone. There was no all 22. It wasn't no.
we had we would get either beta tapes or still some 8mm film at that time, and some of that film you would have to send back to school, so you would be borrowing it essentially. And the Dub Center as it exists today didn't exist. I mean, we're so fortunate now. Games get played on Saturday, and a lot of times we have that tape Monday morning to look at.
Yeah.
So it's, in the instant world that we live in now with phones and computers and technology, it's a far cry from, having to go track film down just to evaluate players back in the day when I first started.
Shannon, do we have time for another question, or are we going to a break soon?
No, we're gonna extend it a little bit. He's gonna stay with us about 30 minutes, so we're gonna break late. So
all right,
go
cool.
ahead.
All right, so
10 minutes.
When you're talking about the scouting, right, and we won't bring up the negative stuff. We'll stick on the positive side of things.
Thank you.
Right, because
this is a positive week.
It's a positive week, right? As a scout, you all come back with the player, right? You'll say, "This is my guy."
Mm-hmm.
What is a guy that you've brought back and stood on the table for and saying, "Y'all may not think, but this is a guy, and it actually worked out for you"?
The guy I always use when I get this question is Patrick Creighton.
That's my guy.
So
I love PC. That's a good friend of mine. I love
Patrick.
PC.
was basically an option quarterback. Up at a little school in Oklahoma, and
was it like Northwestern State?
Yep. And he ran for a bajillion yards. He threw the ball pretty good, and he showed up at an all-star game that at the time was actually in Las Vegas. There was a game out there a couple of years.
I remember that.
I can't even remember what the name of it was at this point, but I went out there and they'd moved Pat to wide receiver, and man, he caught everything. I mean, those big hands just snatched it, and he ran well enough. He didn't run great, but for a guy that had been working as a quarterback, it was really impressive to see his hands and how he could just go get the football. And we ended up taking him in the 7th round that year, and Parcells was the head coach. And I was still kind of wet behind the ears at that time a little bit and evaluating and doing things like that. So I would pop up with Creighton's name every now and then when we were going through things, and he got a little juice in the room eventually from some other people too. And when we finally made that decision to use that last pick, I'll never forget Parcells looking back at me. I was kind of in the back doing my thing on the computer, and he goes, "Well, you're going to get your pom-poms and your skirt out. We're going to take your guy." So, it worked out pretty good for us. Pat was a really good, dependable player for a lot of years for us, and had a lot of good things for him over the years.
Yep.
Got anything, Nate? You're being really quiet.
No, y'all asking the right questions, man, and Coach loved to do his thing. So Chris Hall, man, head of college, director of college scouting and personnel, I'm loving it, man. That's
a good reset.
You're building me a little bigger than I am, Nate, but thank you.
I like you've done radio before. That was a good reset.
I was going to let you read, but that's a great reset.
I never reset.
It's a great reset.
I never reset.
Unique.
That's a great reset.
I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and I don't know why they keep me on the show. That's how unique I am. I got a couple of questions. One, start with this one. Obviously, we aren't looking for a quarterback or weren't looking for a quarterback. Were there some guys in that draft, the handful, the top 4 or 5 guys that went early this past year? Were there some guys that who was y'all's kind of favorite in the room as far as
this past year?
This past year, yeah.
The quarterback thing, when you've got one, honestly, you don't hunt quite as hard at that position. Yeah. Over the last couple of years, we've seen some really good guys come in. Daniel Jones was this year, and Sam Darnold last year. The 2 guys in New York, and then of course Mahomes and that whole crew of guys that have come through here. And we have these discussions about quarterbacks when you talk about a first-round quarterback, because at the end of the day, if you go look through history, more than half of them flame out and don't become anything that you think they're going to be. And that's what makes it so difficult. We've been in an amazing position in the last 2 quarterbacks we've had. One was a rookie free agent from Eastern Illinois, and the other was a 4th-round pick from Mississippi State who, honestly, we tried to get 2 or 3 other guys before we even got him. So, it's not an exact science. It's not a perfect deal. There's not this guy's a surefire, can't-miss guy. There's a couple other guys in the draft this year coming that are going to be in that same boat that you got to decide on if you need a quarterback. And that's why it's so valuable that if you have one, you find a way to keep him. And instead of hitting the reset button where you reset and you're 50-50, regardless of where you're picking them.
Yeah. And my other question is, you're in the draft room on draft day.
Yes.
All 3 days.
Yep.
What is that like, or do you have a story that you can share that's funny or tense, or however you want to talk about the draft room? Just talk about something about draft day.
Yeah, draft day's a lot of hurry up and wait, quite honestly. Especially the way that they've changed it over the years. You have one pick on Thursday night, and if you're fortunate to have a first-round pick, which we do again this year. Last year it was ridiculous. We didn't have a pick. Ours had already hit some home runs for us on the field before we drafted.
Just
him.
eating catfish last year.
We were snacking and watching the world go by. So, there was no pressure on that. And then on the second night, we got involved and, we made some picks. But even the second day is a little bit slow sometimes too, because you're only picking twice. Now, we haven't been as active moving around the draft board as we used to be. We make some trades here and there, but we used to look at trying to do something with dang near every pick, it seemed like sometimes. But we've settled into following our board and taking the best players that are up there, and we've done a pretty darn good job of it the last few years in building this football team. By the time you get to day 3, that day 3 is really the exciting day, because now you're digging a little bit deeper into some names that people really might not be as familiar with, and those are the guys that you've done a lot of scouting work on. Your coaches have gotten involved in that. There's usually 12, 15 guys that you got your eye on as you're watching that progress between the 4th to the 7th round, and you just kind of watch that develop. And sometimes guys you like, they start popping off, and you're thinking it's getting thin up there, and then there's a few more that hang on. Or, like the case with Xavier Woods, we had a pretty good grade on him a few years ago, and we're kind of looking around, going, "Hey, let's go get this guy." And then we actively got on the phone and made some calls to different teams until we found a deal that we liked, and we picked up a 6th-round pick, and we added him to the team, and he's starting safety for us right now. So that third day can get really exciting because there's a lot of moving parts with it, not just with the draft, but when the draft's over and rookie free agency starts.
That's the real fun.
That's
for
complete
you guys,
chaos. And, you're trying to add anywhere from 12 to 20 guys to your roster at that point, and every other team's trying to do the same thing as well. So it becomes it's a little bit of a free-for-all. There's some money and some guarantees involved in that, and how good you negotiate, or what kind of relationships you have with agents, or agents that have done their homework and know that the player's a good fit for you, or he might be a better fit for another team. And sometimes it doesn't always come down to the signing bonus, but it comes down to a guy who's done his homework and says, yeah, you know what? I think my guy can make your team as the 3rd tight end, so I'm going to send him there. Or, you know what, there's 2 receiver spots to be had on that team, so I know you drafted a guy, but I'm going to let my guy come there and compete for one of those other spots. So the day 3 is really the exciting day of the draft, honestly, for the scouting guys.
Chris, you got one.
No, go ahead, sir.
It may seem early to the common fan, but your work never is done, right? It's like there's always work to be had, and you guys are already looking towards this upcoming 2020 draft.
Definitely.
And if you can share this, you can. If you can't, just blink 3 times. Like, what do you think the need is, where we're standing at today? If the draft was, let's say, next week, what do you think the need would be for the Cowboys right now?
That's hard to really put a finger on right now, quite honestly, because right now it's, we've got really good depth on this football team, and we've had some guys step up when other guys have been hurt. I mean, to me, you can always add depth on the offensive line and the defensive line, and sometimes those are not as sexy picks, but they pay off for you down the run. Having guys that can step in when guys miss a couple of games is really important. We can we've gotten pretty young on this football team. If we're not the youngest team, we're right there, second or third up.
You're in the top 3. Yeah, I think second.
So, it's continuing to find good pieces all the way across the board to add to your deal. I don't want to specifically say which position, but I feel like we've got good depth across the board, and as long as we can keep adding guys at a high level that can compete and get the best out of the next player. Now, we always have an eye towards free agency too, where we know whose contract is up and where all of a sudden we're going to be a little short on depth. So maybe those positions turn into your positions of need when you know that you're going to lose 3 defensive linemen or 3 or 4 of them are available to leave in free agency if they choose. Then maybe you put a little heavier eye on that spot and you really do a little more work there. Or, we've got several guys in the secondary that are potential free agents or a year away from being a free agent. It's not necessarily guys that are leaving right now. Right. It could be a guy whose contract is up next year that we want to get ahead of that. So all of a sudden it's not oh crap, man, we got to draft a guy. And then you get in the area of committing the cardinal sin of drafting for need or perceived need. And that's when you can start to make some mistakes where you pass up a better player at another position to fill a perceived hole or a perceived need.
Chris, okay, I've sat quiet and let these dudes do it.
It's been hard for you, hadn't it?
Yeah.
Nate Newton.
The question I have is, it's maybe kind of weird, maybe not. Okay, we got to buy. And I understand this ain't the halfway point. But do we ever as a team come in-house with our scouts, or do y'all have time, or is certain guys that come in-house not only now and self-scout us and break us down as a team, or do y'all leave that to the coaches? And then if we make a push towards the playoffs, do everybody come back in then and help scout us or either scout other teams?
Honestly, I don't know the answer to that question. I know our coaches continuously self-scout. We've got a lot of different assistants, and really that's a little bit of what the analytics guys do on a weekly basis as well. Mm-hmm. So they're there pointing out tendencies, letting Kellen and Coach Rod and Coach Richard know, hey, maybe we're calling a certain coverage too much, or we're running certain plays at this percentage. I think there's continual in-house scouting going on. It's more, I think, with coaches and analytics, our guys are more about building the team, not the X's and O's with it.
Okay.
Got about one more question. Anybody want it?
Any concerts been to lately?
There we go.
Iron Maiden.
Oh.
When?
A couple weeks ago.
How was that?
Oh, it was great.
He still well?
Guys are all still 65 years old and rocking.
I got
what type of music is that Iron Maiden?
Kurt headbanging music. Is Rob, what's his name? Rob Halford?
Deviltry. Rob that's Judas Priest.
That's Judas Priest. Okay.
I got one more kind of scouting question.
Saw them this summer though.
Oh.
Before you go, I'm very active on Twitter, and so people all the time they say, "Go get that guy. Go get this guy." Someone gets released. Go get this guy. Like, can you explain to the people it ain't just that simple to say?
No.
People are like, "Oh, we should go get Jamal Adams." I'm like, wait a second. You do know Jamal Adams is a good player on a really good team who's not a really good team, but a really good player for a team that is not going to let him walk.
Yeah.
So when people say that, like, oh, we should go get him, or a guy gets released, say, we should have him, explain to the people the process isn't as simple as they think.
No, it's really not. I mean, first and foremost, you got to have 2 people to make a deal. And while there's a lot of, we're seeing a couple of pretty good players here the last couple of days. Emmanuel Sanders, Mohamed Sanu, the Quinn kid at Detroit,
Quan Diggs.
Diggs, not Quinn. Quinn retired last year. But these guys have all been moved. And for the casual observer, it seems like, well, they're just getting a couple of draft picks for this guy who can go help them play right now. Well, there's a lot of things involved in that. First and foremost, it's what's the player's salary and can you fit him under your cap? What's his contract? Is he controllable just the rest of this year, or does he have 2 or 3 years left on it? So some of these things are an investment for here and now. Some of them you got to look towards the future. When we made the deal with Amari last year, we knew we had him for last year and this year, and the idea was to get a long-term deal done with him at some point. And that's still the goal with him as far as I'm aware. And, those are small parts of the deal, but sometimes a guy's just having a fire sale and getting rid of a guy that doesn't fit on that team. Maybe they changed their scheme in the offseason and they didn't just want to flat cut him. They wanted to see if they could get a draft pick for him, get some capital back. And then you got teams that stock up draft picks just for this reason, so they can go make deals and everything. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but it's hard just to say, well, the Jets stink, so maybe we should go trade for Jamal Adams because people think that our safeties aren't playing well enough. It doesn't work that way. First of all, the player has to be available, and then you have to have the capital to acquire him and to where it makes sense for both teams. That's the beauty of the salary cap. I mean, it's designed to help provide parity. It works in some ways, and some people are better at manipulating it than others are.
Okay, I lied. But I'm blaming this last question on you.
Okay.
One more question.
Yes.
You brought it up, so I want to ask. This is something I've been wanting to know. Amari, the deal last year. Mm-hmm. When that started to go down, were you guys involved, because you're giving up a first-round pick, were you guys involved in the decision-making process? Like, is there someone in the first round that we're looking at when it came to value?
Oh, definitely.
Was that a big group decision?
The value. Amari as a pro player, the evaluation work was done mostly by our pro guys and everything. Mm-hmm. But Will certainly came to us and said, "What's the strength of the draft? What do the receivers look like coming out this year? Is there a guy that we could possibly get in the first round that can bring us what Amari could bring us?" And that was one of the things we looked at and said, probably not. There were some talented receivers, but were they of the caliber that Amari is? We didn't think so. So that did play into our decision in trying to make that deal. We certainly looked towards the future at what would be available in April, and there were some good players there, but the deal came together to where it made sense to go get Amari here and now, and I mean he helped flip the switch on the season last year for us, and I mean, you see what he's done when he's on the field for us. He's a phenomenal football player. Yeah. So,
well, man, we know you're busy. Thank you so much for stopping by. It's always a pleasure.
Yep.
We need to do it more often.
We need like an hour.
We need like 3 hours.
For real, man.
We need to do just
still got like
a whole
15
show.
questions, man. For real.
Yeah, we appreciate you stopping by. We don't know what the hell we're going to talk about the second half of the show, so tune in to find out.
Callers to respond to what my man Chris Hall said.
Okay. Open up the phones. Call us.
Maybe we can get those other 4 guys you shut down yesterday.
Oh, we'll be right back on Hanging with the Boys.
Worked last week, might not work next week.
Back to Hanging with the Boys.
All right, we are back. And Kurt wants to talk to you about...
Oh, yeah. True cowboy loves his freedom. And Tommy John gives you that feeling of freedom where it counts with a contour pouch that nestles you in fabrics you can barely feel. Shop exclusive Cowboys underwear at TommyJohn.com/Cowboys for 20% off your first order. TommyJohn.com/Cowboys.
All right.
Maybe we should just listen to you two argue some more.
Who's
you
arguing?
and Nate.
No.
That's my guy.
No, the reason I wanted some callers, man, because we promised the people yesterday. We act like we was gonna really, get involved with the people. And that's why I kind of stayed back at first. I'm like, between me and Jesse, they may not get an opportunity once we get to rolling. And lo and behold, you shut the show down. Remember, for like 5 or 6 minutes, you shut the show down, man. Did.
But how good was Chris? Like, that was great.
That was great.
Oh, that was awesome.
That was awesome. And the thing about it, man, you guys, see me, first and foremost, I'm about the team. And the questions y'all were presenting, I'm like, by the time I get to my little question, I knew it wasn't going to go the way I thought it was. Because the more I thought about it, the more he was telling us, they don't have time to break this team down. So who breaks this team down?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But, man, it's just – I think people sometimes they don't realize all that's going on. And they think like, oh, scouts are just sitting up there playing Candy Crush. You know what I'm saying? He's like –
Candy Crush.
You know what I'm saying? But and Chris said it. He said, I'm over the whole Texas. And, in order to find your Patrick Creightons in Northwest –
right,
Oklahoma, you got that's turning over rocks. The Amaris, the Jalen's,
they on TV
the Zekes.
every week.
You ain't got to go far to see them.
They on TV,
right? Those guys have been talked about since Little League.
Yeah,
you heard about Zeke when he was in high school. You heard about Zeke when he was in
jumping them hurdles.
So that name, you're like, well, we know this guy. But when you go and you find your Patrick Creightons, when you go and you find your Byron Jones at Connecticut, or you go and, what I'm saying? When you go and find these different dudes who wasn't on the radar or may not have been or had the biggest name that can come into this league and make a tremendous impact. Guys like, Barry Church.
Eric Williams.
A
story in
Nate
itself.
Newton.
No, dog. I'm telling you, Eric Williams. I can't think. The pro scout over John Wooten. Mm-hmm. We used to go for little walks. At Valley Range, we used to go for little walks. I was like, Mr. Wooten, who you done found that you think is so great in the draft, offensive lineman? I'm feeling myself right now. They say, man, I found this dude at this small college, such and such, like Philadelphia kid. He mean. He tough. He'll crush folks. And he really was 2 players there. It was a defensive end that wound up with the Eagles. And he said, man, when draft come, man, I'm going to be all over this kid. He said, people ain't valuing him like I'm valuing. And, man, he literally had to get up on the table and tell Coach Johnson, I got this kid, Eric Williams. He is the next it. Y'all got to get him. And they was going to try to pass him one more time. He got up on the table like, nah, I put my job on the line for this kid. The rest was history, man. Eric Williams was a beast. You hear me? A beast.
Is he the strongest, most aggressive guy you ever played around?
Not the strongest, but the most aggressive. Yeah, not the strongest. Larry Allen was the strongest man I ever seen in my life. But I'm telling you, man, he gave 75% of the NFC East the concussion protocol. I'm telling you, it started with him. I'm serious, man.
It's funny that Vegas Bowl that he talked about, he saw Patrick Creighton at. So when he said they canceled it, I laughed because they canceled it the year I was supposed to go to it.
Oh, really? No, man. So you're like, I heard about that.
I tell you no lie. I promised you. I was training in Phoenix, Arizona.
Right.
And everything all set and ready to go. And they canceled. And I had a choice between 2 games. And I was like, Vegas? I'm going to go to Vegas for a couple of days. And they canceled it.
No. Man.
So they canceled it in 2007, the year I was coming out.
Man, where did you go after college? Were you free agent?
Yeah, I was undrafted free agent, Cincinnati.
You went straight to Cincinnati after that?
And I also laughed because he talked about, that free agency, that preferred free agency, that rookie type thing. Uh-huh. And he talked about the money.
Yeah.
I was a poor kid out of New Jersey, and I stupidly, I chased the money instead of chasing the situation. Because literally the minutes I was at my cousin's Sweet 16, and the draft ended. And my phone began to blow up. My agent's calling. He's like, the Rams, Baltimore, Atlanta, Cincinnati. And I'm like, all right, cool. What are they offering? And he said, they're all, I think the Rams, Baltimore was offering like $15,000. And I was like, that's it? And then Cincinnati came about, and I think they gave me like $5,000 more. And I was just so dumb. Because I should have went to the Rams or Baltimore. But I went to Cincy, and they had Chad Johnson, T.J. Hushmanzada, God rest his soul now, Chris Henry. So they had 3 receivers right there. I had no concept of special teams. They had a guy by the name of Tab Perry out of UCLA who was really a special teams dude. So they had about like 4 dudes already that was locked.
And the special team guy.
Right. They had the top 3 receivers and the special teams guy. And
for $5,000.
So for $5,000, I was like, I'm going to Cincy. It was the dumbest thing I've ever done. And
Same way I did with the Redskins. That's the dumbest thing I ever done.
And again, you got to remember, this is 12 years ago. So all this whole 3, 4, 5 wide receiver sets, they weren't doing that. They were lining up tight end, fullback, 2 receivers. So Jokers wasn't keeping 6, 7 receivers on the roster. It was like 4. Maybe 5.
And that was the special teams guy.
Right. And so it's like, and then they had one of the guys from LSU, Skylar Green.
Yeah.
He was their returner. So they had like a special teams guy, or core special teams guy, and they had Skylar Green was their returner. And so I ended up making the practice squad, but I went back and looked at it. The guy who came behind me, who was like my second starter at college, he ended up going to the Rams the next year. And spent like 4 or 5 years with them, like
on the team,
like active, like no practice squad. And he was one of those kids who hated football, but he just was good at it. So everybody kept telling him to play. And I remember like visiting. We were in Miami at the same time. He was like, "Man, I don't feel like playing." He's like, "But the money's too good." So he didn't even want to play. And I'm like, I want to play. And I should have went to the Rams in St. Louis at that time.
What you told it before? What was your story?
I basically sold out for the money too. But I'm gonna tell you here, it wasn't nowhere in the world I was gonna make the Washington Redskins. They just come from playing in the Super Bowl. Then next year they won the Super Bowl.
They had the Hogs.
Right? Man. They had their offensive line set, and back then it was keeping like 7 guys, 8 guys. So, and then they drafted a guy, big Henry Winkler out of Wisconsin, who was garbage. Henry, if you're out there, you're still garbage. Anyway, they hid him. He know he garbage. I love you, though.
You can say that. You can say that when you've been to the Pro Bowl 6 times and you got 3 rings. You can start calling folks garbage.
But no. It's only one person, and I'm joking with Henry, but it's only one coach you ever hear me say anything bad about. And that was the great coach for the Miami Dolphins, his son, Dave whatever. Shula. That's the only guy you'll really hear me say, man. And not because of the way he treated me, but the way he treated Troy. See, I wasn't looking for no love. You can tweet me, call me scrub all you want, but them rings got me. Yeah. I just saw in meetings before games. And Troy is our starter. And me and Troy ain't always saw eye to eye. So it wasn't like we were boys or nothing. But this is the quarterback. Hey, Troy, what play you think for this? And then Troy would give a play. Oh, that's good. Then he would ask the other guy. And then he would say something a little bit better. And instead of him saying, Troy, hey, and soothing it, he would just be point blank with our quarterback. I'm like, wow, how you want us to respect our quarterback and you talking to him this way?
Right.
And so, but Mike Irvin checked me. I'm glad Mike Irvin checked me. Like, man, that's our quarterback. That's the other guy over here I played with too, but this is our quarterback. So don't lose that. Whatever you got for him, keep it. Because he's going to be the one they either pat you on the back when the coach say, hey, pass him out. Like, what you think about Nate? He's either going to give you it's Julius Caesar. You know what I'm saying? Julius Caesar.
All right, let's get back on track and take another quick break. And when we come back,
can we get one call?
Why do you want calls so bad?
I just want one call, man.
Oh, by the way, this show is not on the air tomorrow. We're doing this abbreviated
Shannon went and cut everybody out,
joint show. This had nothing to do with me.
Shannon cut everybody out.
I was trying to cut myself out of here early
I'm
tomorrow.
The only one cut out.
Kurt's cut out.
I'm cut out. You guys are in.
I'll tell you what the deal is when we come back from break.
Who is the guy?
Hang with the boys.
For your next AT&T Stadium barbecue, gear up with OtterBox, the official outfitter of tailgating. It starts with the Venture Cooler. Built tough in America, Venture keeps ice for days and days. Or stay light on your feet with Trooper Soft Coolers, perfect for packing in your signature side dishes.
Tailgating wouldn't be complete without a beverage, so pour one into the OtterBox Elevation Tumbler. It keeps your drinks frosty and toasty. Discover more about OtterBox line of tailgate essentials at otterbox.com.
Now's a good time time to tell you that SeatGeek is the new source of tickets for all your football needs this season. SeatGeek makes managing tickets easy, whether it's buying or transferring to a friend. They even tell you the best deals for every game based on their deal score technology, which rates every seat on historical data, price, and location. Download the SeatGeek app on your phone and take $20 off your first purchase using code DALLAS at checkout. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
The excitement of Dallas Cowboys football is back at AT&T Stadium.
The place is going crazy in Arlington, Texas.
Don't miss your chance to see the Cowboys live when they host their NFC East rivals, the Eagles, Giants, and Redskins, plus the Green Bay Packers and more.
Elliott works his way through and walks the dog.
Single game tickets are on sale now. Get them before they're gone.
First and goal, quarterback sneak. Prescott pushes up the middle. Touchdown.
Visit DallasCowboys.com to get your tickets today.
Back to Hanging with the Boys.
We are back. What's today? Thursday, Wednesday?
Wednesday, hump day.
Wednesday, hump day. All right. Join us at another official Cowboys watch party presented by AT&T on Sunday, November the 24th. Who do we play the 24th?
The Giants. Is that the next game?
Sunday, 24th. I think we play Jesse's favorite team.
New England.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's November.
November 24th. Ooh. Enjoy a festive game day atmosphere on the plaza at the Star in Frisco. The Cowboys take on Jesse's. That's going to be such a fun week to talk about Cowboys Patriots.
I get so football horny with them.
Oh, man. Wow. There's so much to talk about. Admission's free, and so is parking. Visit thestarinfrisco.com for details. And if you haven't been to one of those, it's actually pretty awesome. I've seen pictures and video and things, and it's
get a good crowd.
Make a day out of it. Mm-hmm. It's a good deal. Come out here to eat, walk around, shop, watch the game, bring the family.
When we taking our show on the road?
It's a great question.
Is that an off-mic question?
No, we could set something up. We could figure something out. I don't know, but we are tomorrow. We're doing an abbreviated no-show Friday. Tomorrow, I'm looking it up now.
I'm still coming in Friday just so I can get that.
Get that money? That door's going to be locked. Good luck getting in. You might have to break the window out. Because the rule is on this show, once you walk through the threshold, you're paid.
You're paid.
Whether it's a 10-second show or a 2-hour show, you're already paid. So we'll be on 11:30 to 12:30 tomorrow. It's going to be me, Jesse, Nate, Nick, and Broadus. We're doing a combined show.
You know what?
It'll be a lot of fun.
Let me tell you something. This is what I do love about this guy. He gonna always try to work us in, dog. I'm telling you.
I appreciate
he gonna always,
that was all Derek. That was all Derek. Derek sent that email. He didn't even consult me. I was trying to get out of here early tomorrow.
Now he don't want to be.
And he looped me. He looped me in.
Do you want to get his spot?
No, he can handle it.
Oh man,
I appreciate you, DE. I appreciate you, boss.
That's Derek trying to get y'all paid.
It's something about Shannon, man. That Kyle and Kurt won't go against. I don't know what he got on them, dog. I don't know what you got on them.
He's our quarterback. There
you go.
I can ask him, hey, Kurt,
that's
my
quarterback.
You want to go to lunch with me? Like, nah,
it's my
quarterback. I got to do a little work. Do that again.
It's my quarterback.
I remember that. T.O. did that 1 week, and 2 weeks later he talking about the man like a dog. Boy, do that one more time for me. Play that one more time.
It's my quarterback.
I remember that.
He even got the sniff in it.
I'm like, T.O. really cares. And then 2 weeks later,
everybody's like, oh, he's changed. He's finally come around. He's finally not that guy. And then,
oh my God,
that's what happened when you stop getting the football. As a receiver, you start taking shots when you don't get that football no more.
I like when they show your head, Shannon. That's awesome, man. When they just
stop it.
I think it's the angle, because it's the angle.
I think it's the angle.
It looks normal if I'm down here. That's when I'm
Game of Thrones. When you die there, you look But anyway,
Tyrion.
where we going with this?
I don't know. We've got
We're all over the place.
Let's do 5 more minutes.
All right, so let's okay. So here's
get a
some of the
call.
questions that
Stop
I don't know
trying
if
to
you
go
called
to
it.
the
We get a call.
So here's some of the questions that I get like on a daily. People always want to know about just this Cowboys team currently constructed. And one of the things that I've got a lot today today was about now it's replacing Jeff Heath. And it's like, and that's like, what do you think the Cowboys should do at that position? Do they continue to have Jeff Heath as their starting, I don't know, with strong safety? Now he's playing some free safety. Or should they try to work in some other players at that position?
The new kid from Texas A&M.
Donovan Wilson?
Desmond Wilson. Jess, I have no answer. This is why when it comes time to I know some players, thanks to Shannon, I know a lot of players and him and Kurt. But once, and I didn't go to training camp, but once all these OTAs and all, I kind of stopped going over there. Mm-hmm. And so you don't see where a guy is mentally or physically. You just see the results on Sunday. So it's hard for me to, if I would go to practice every day, then I could give you a concrete answer. I'd be like, nah, either yeah. So I don't know where he's at, and I don't know where this team is at, but I know one thing. Chris Hall was just here, and he just told you how hard it is to get a stud type guy. Mm-hmm. If y'all want that playmaking, change, and safety, he ain't coming here. No. Because they're not going to give a safety here over $12 million a year. You can forget it. It ain't happening in their priority of what they think makes that defense run. A $12 million safety is not it unless they draft it.
All right, let me ask this question now, because you've kind of answered that, but spurred me to another question. There are some contracts that need to come in the next near future. Mm. Amari Cooper is one of those guys, right? Mm-hmm. Byron Jones is one of those guys. Now there's another guy that you're going to have to throw into this mix. 5 sacks in 6 games. Robert Quinn. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if he was a guy who they planned on having come in here as a long-term deal thing, or was it just a patchwork to see if they're going to get Randy Gregory back, or whatever it is. But the point of the matter is, we're here now.
He's solidifying himself.
What do you do? What do you – let's just say this.
Those guys don't grow on trees.
So there's a couple things when you look at this. And there's been some reports, and I always take the national guys' reports a little bit with a grain of salt because they're national guys. They aren't here every day.
Right. They're not in the locker room.
They're not like
not
we're at the start every single
Byron
day.
Jones, Robert Quinn,
and Amari Cooper. So there's been talks about Amari. Maybe he'll go take his opportunity and go see what the free agency market looks like. But let's just say, for all intents and purposes, Amari Cooper signed, sealed, delivered. It's not an if, but when. He'll be a Cowboy for the next 5 to 7 years, whatever. There's only but so many contracts that you can have going around. Byron Jones, he'll be 27 at the end of this year. Robert Quinn will be 30. But at the pace he's going at now, 5 sacks in 6 games. At this pace, he's going to have somewhere around 12 to anywhere 15 sacks.
Ooh, you think it'd be that big?
I'm just saying. Give or take. At this pace, he's somewhere around 12 to 15 sacks. 30 years old. Hey, this is a guy you're trying to pay? Or are you saying, you know what, we're going to pay a corner because, you heard Chris say it, you just can't find guys in the league that can be stud players. And I know Byron doesn't give you the turnovers, but he also don't give you the yards either. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing. Like, you know what?
You haven't heard his name a lot this year.
And that's a good thing. When you don't hear a cornerback's name, that's a great thing. I am one who always feel like the D-ends and the cornerbacks are on a string. Those guys get more sacks because these guys are covering better. Those guys get more turnovers and less yards thrown at them because these guys are rushing the passer better. So those two guys, to me, are on a string. Let's just say on that list, and I forgot Dak as well. I'm sorry. And Dak. So let's say Amari and Dak, boom, boom, they're getting signed. Who do you sign
on defense
out of these two guys? you sign Byron Jones? Because I honestly don't think Byron's not taking a hometown discount. And Robert Quinn doesn't have any relationships here. Like, he wasn't drafted here. You know what I'm saying? He ain't been here but for a little while.
It ain't like you gave a first or second for him.
So he's like, listen, I'm playing well for you now, but I'm also playing well for 31 other teams because at the end of the day, I want to go and get paid. The franchise tag this year for a cornerback is $16 million. The franchise tag for a defensive end this year is $18 million. So that number will go up next year with the salary cap going up. Is there enough money to go around, and who will you sign if there's only one guy that you can sign?
Kurt, read off who's up after this year.
You've got, in addition to the guys you've mentioned, Sean Lee,
bye-bye.
Joe
Don't
Thomas.
Worry. Don't worry.
Malik Collins.
He's
Kerry Hyder.
Malik might be gone because they're probably going to want to pay him about $5 million a year.
Anthony Brown.
Anthony Brown?
Yep. I mean, you've got several guys on that defense that are going to be up for grabs.
But they still have
Christian Covington.
I don't think Byron's going to take a hometown discount.
Neither is Robert Quinn.
Neither is Robert Quinn. I don't think either one of them. And from what it's sounding like, and I have just heard the rumor mill like everybody else, it sounds like Amari's wanting to see what he can get. So he's maybe not taking a hometown discount.
None of those guys.
Doesn't sound like Dak is either.
None of the big name guys that we name are taking discounts.
Right.
Dak, if he want all he can get. He want every dime.
And he needs to.
And I tell people all the time, just because you don't consider Dak to be a top 5 quarterback in this league, he is the number 1 pick for this team.
He is a quarterback in this league.
That is all that matters. Mm-hmm. That's all that matters. I don't have to have 32 teams like me. Just one.
Yep.
And he is valuable to this. And you heard Chris. He said, "Well, when you got a quarterback, we don't kind of look for anymore. We ain't really kind of
And the thing is,
repeat what you just said right here for our fans. Repeat what Chris just said. He
said, when you got a quarterback as a scout, you ain't really putting a lot of fire into finding another one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if you do, who's out there that you can go get? I mean, look what people have tried to do with Dak is just as good, if not better, than anybody that's been let go in the last 3, 4, 5 years.
Where do you rank Dak out of 1 through 32? Where do you rank Dak?
Top 10.
I would go, but he's at
12, 10.
He's in 10 to 12 for me.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Where do you rank him?
I don't know. This year, he's top 5 this year in all the stats.
Where do you rank him?
Ooh,
I think beginning of the year I'd have said 10, 12. I think to me he's probably 8. Maybe we do that next week. Maybe we rank everybody.
Okay.
See where he lands.
Okay. I would say between 8 to 10 or 11.
Let me say this and see do it make sense. He ranks number 1 because he's the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
and you have no other option. You have backed yourself into this corner one way or the other.
Yes, you do. See, this is the problem. They do have other options, and he answered that. We can reset. You can always reset.
Yeah, but
no, listen.
When you reset, when you reset quarterback, think about
what I'm trying to say is, like the Cardinals, they reset, got rid of Josh.
But then it's 50-50 and you don't know what you get.
Listen to me. They reset and got rid of a guy that was a first-round pick, way higher than, you can reset depending on who you have. But are you ready for what transpired between Troy Aikman and the next guy,
and Tony Romo?
Right. Are you ready for what happened between Roger and Troy? It can be a long reset.
Yeah.
Now we groaning and grinding about it's been 25 years, but we've had some success in them 25 years. But before I got here and before Troy got here,
we ain't had no success in those 25 years.
It was ugly, man.
We haven't had any success in those 25 years.
Who that? The Cowboys they have at least been able to hold their head up. It's some teams they ain't been able to hold their head up.
And
that's what I'm
saying. We've had a lot. We've only had 3 playoff appearances.
But what I'm saying is,
first round.
This team, for the first time, and I don't know how many years, Jesse, I think has a core that if they mature right, can be something special.
Yeah, but look at the guys we just talked about. There's a lot of guys in that core.
Yes, sir.
That's going to cost you some coins.
Yeah,
that
yes,
core
sir.
comes with coins.
But that's why we had Chris Hall in here.
And you've already given up $185 million this year for that core.
That's why we got Chris Hall in his, but he can go out and find future coin.
No, he need to
That's
find.
what I'm saying. Guys that we can play for cheap.
Yeah,
then when these guys get a little older and we coin them up out of here like the England Patriots, coin them up out of here.
Think about what the Cowboys just signed for the guys this year.
Mm-hmm.
Two guys, $185 million. Two guys going to eat that up next year. Amari and Dak eat. Yeah. That's going to be 100. That's probably going to be another $85 million. I mean, 80. Yeah, so
Guaranteed.
100 million, 85, and two guys. They got a core guys this year for $185 million. Two guys going to eat up $185 million next year, and that ain't counting Quinn, and that ain't counting Byron
Jones.
or Malik or Anthony Brown or Joe Thomas or whoever else.
But this is the amazing thing. Some of these guys, and I don't know which one. Now, they ain't saying they're going to sign with Dallas. But one or two of these guys going to get a shock because their agent them telling them one thing. Because this is one thing I had to learn the hard way. Other teams scout, too, and other teams have values and set numbers on the guys, too. Now, you maybe Cincinnati or a team that's really, really hurting and trying to show their fan base something, you better hope one of those teams out there, because if it's not, a couple of these guys going to get shot. It don't take one.
That's it.
It only take
I just
one.
need one to say. I just need one to say.
Come on.
You want 30? Yeah, come on. Because a lot of times, like New England, people think, I don't know why, and it doesn't show well, people think, well, if he was with New England, he can come to us to be all right.
That's
He's with
right.
Dallas, he can come to us to be all right. And it don't always work out that way.
We got to go, fellas.
Let's roll.
All right.
We're off Friday. Joint show tomorrow. No show Monday. Man, it's going to be damn near a week before we're back together.
Yeah,
completely.
tell Kyle it's all right. You know, it's all right. You know, that we can cut the show off once you say it, because he ain't going to do nothing we say. I'm just saying, you know, Kyle.
You missed the first part of the show today. You were gone.
I did.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
I had your back, Shannon, and he's
Thanks,
upset
Kyle. Yeah. Thank you, Kyle.
I'll always have you.
Kyle's got to deal with you for 1 hour a day. He's got to deal with me for like 8 hours a day.
Okay. I love you, Kyle.
You too, Nate.
We love you too, Kyle. Kurt, thanks for being here. Jesse, see you tomorrow.
Yep.
Nate, see you tomorrow.
Hey, good to see
Kyle,
you, Kurt.
thanks for having my back,
Thanks,
my brother.
Kyle. Where you at, Caden? I love you.
Caden, stay
what's
away. William.
Bro,
hi.
Will.
We'll be back Tuesday on Hangin' with the Boys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?